So in today's video, I will be ranking and showcasing every single ability in Anime Fighting Simulator X. As you guys can see, there are a lot of abilities in the game and it is very confusing to find out which abilities are actually worth using. In our tier list, there are 3 tiers: best, mid and bad, and all the abilities will be ranked in these tiers. Alright, I think without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. Okay, so let's start off with the strength abilities. Here we have Conqueror's Haki. This one is my personal favorite move out of the strength one, and I think it is very OP. Well, it doesn't really serve a purpose in PvP, but it can be used to overnight grind your champions and make them max level. If you guys want me to make a video on this and tell you guys how you can do it very easily, let me know in the comments below. So yes, for this purpose, I think I'm gonna be ranking the Conqueror's Haki in the mid tier. Moving on into the next move, we have the Serious Punch. This one is just decent and basically does not have anything to do with the game. In my opinion, no one should use this move, so yeah, I think I'm gonna be ranking this in the bad tier. Moving on into the next move, we have the Rapid Punches. This one is, you know, One Piece related and you do like a bunch of punches really fast. Yeah, it is very close range, and I think if you are killing bosses or doing PvP, yeah, this move is not the one to use. So it's gonna go in the bad tier. Moving on into the last move of the strength, we have the Heavy Punch. This one does a lot of damage, but yet again is very close range. So it's up to you, but it's gonna be going in the bad tier for me. Alright, moving on into the durability section, we have all of these modes which you can transform into, and these will give you buffs. I do not have the most latest one unlocked since the quest is just absurd. Whenever I get it, I will make a video on it, I guess, but yeah, currently we are gonna be showcasing all the other ones. Okay, first we have the 4th gate. This one is pretty sick in my opinion, and especially very good for new players. You guys will get a 25% damage increase if you are doing strength based attack, and also your max HP will be increased by 25%. And I think if I'm not wrong, you guys move a little bit faster as well. So this one is a pretty good awakening, but yes, there are a lot more better than this one, so we're gonna be putting this in the mid tier. Moving on into the next one, we have the Buso. This can be unlocked right after I think the 4th gate and is basically useless. If somebody is still using this ability, I feel so sorry for them because it is literally not worth it. So I'm going to be ranking this in the bad tier. Moving on into the next one, we have Super Saiyan. This one is a pretty good one. It will give you a 20% increase in your strength attacks and 20% increase in your chakra attacks, which is very good since, as you guys would already know, chakra has the best attacks in the game. Alright, so I think Super Saiyan should deserve a little bit higher than 4th gate, but it is still going to be staying in the mid tier for me. Moving on into the next awakening, we have the Hammond. This one is pretty strong as well. You guys will get a 30% damage increase on every single attack you do, whether it is strength, chakra, your special abilities like Rinnegan or your quirks, whatever it is, you will get a 30% damage increase, which in my opinion is pretty good. And trust me, when you guys have Hammond, just be ready for a ridiculous quest ahead to get yourself the holification. The quest for this is in my opinion very difficult and will take you a minimum of 1 or 2 days. So good luck if you still do not have Holification, but by far it is the best durability awakening for us middle to pro people, you know. So basically it gives you a 30% damage reduction, so basically more defense and 40% extra damage, which is just insane, and it is universal damage, so you can do 40% extra damage on every single attack, which is just insane. So Holification is definitely going in the best tier for me. Moving on into the chakra abilities, let me just equip all of them and then let's start ranking them. Oh my god, there are so many different abilities. I think this is the main reason why you guys are confused. Okay, so I guess let's start off with the top one. So we have Zero as our first ability. In my opinion, this deserves the best tier. It is very fast, has a decent amount of range, and especially it is very good for killing bosses, so definitely gonna be in the best tier for me. Moving on into the next one, we have Rasa. Rasengan. This one is, you know, a Naruto based ability, very famous and quite frankly very useless in the game. It is very close range and does not really do a lot of damage, so that is why I think we are gonna be ranking this in the bad tier. Moving on into the next one, we have the Kamehameha, and this one is pretty good in my opinion. It is basically just a bad version of Zero. It will take you a longer time to use but has a far range, and yes, it does a pretty good amount of damage, so I'm gonna be putting this in the mid tier. But I think when you guys unlock more abilities, this ability will not be as useful as it is for beginners. Alright, moving on into the next ability, we have Chidori. This one is basically the copy of Rasengan, basically serves the same purpose. I think it does a bit more damage, but yeah, basically useless, so in the bad tier. Moving on into the next one, we have the Spirit Bomb. Yes, a pretty good and a solid ability, goes pretty far and does a decent amount of damage. Very good for bosses, so definitely going in the best tier for me. Alright, moving on into the next one, we have the God's Wrath. This one is a very hard ability to get. I just got it like yesterday, and to be honest, it isn't really that special. Basically, it summons like a cloud over your head and does like a damage for a little bit of time. It isn't really that special, so yeah, it's gonna go in the mid tier for me. Then we have Rasen Shuriken, in my opinion the strongest move in Chakra. Basically has a pretty good amount of range and does a lot, I mean a lot of damage. So in my opinion, this is the best ability you guys can have, so definitely going in the best tier for me. Moving on into the next one, we have Solar Flare. This was quite a big disappointment for me. Basically it is very close range, so if you guys are trying to kill the pain boss or trying to do some PvP, I'm sorry, it is going to be quite difficult to do it with this ability, so it's gonna go in the mid tier for me. Moving on into the last ability of Chakra is Fallen Down. This one is a very strong ability and does high amounts of damage, very high damage, close to the damage of Rasen Shuriken, so this one is definitely going in the best tier for me. Okay, finally we are up to the last categories of abilities, which are the sword abilities. Let me just equip all of these and I'll be right back. Okay, first of all we have the Revenger skill. Literally does nothing. It doesn't have high damage, doesn't have long range, cannot be used to kill bosses or a lot of NPCs, so it's going in the bad tier for me. Moving on into the next one, we have the Rising Slash. Yeah, basically another useless skill, and I don't really have a lot to say for this. It is going in the bad tier for me. Moving on into the next one, we have Flying Slash. Finally a pretty decent ability, has long range and does a decent amount of damage, so if you guys are looking to kill bosses, you guys can equip this skill. I think I'm gonna be ranking this at the top of mid tier. It doesn't quite reach the best tier, but it is still very strong. Moving on into the next one, we have the Key Slash. This one is pretty useless as well. It has somewhat of a long range, but it is literally not useful for doing anything in the game, so it's definitely going in the bad tier for me. Moving on into the next ability, we have the Devastating Lunge, and this one is a pretty amazing skill, but is very close ranged. I think if it had a bit more range, this would have been a very strong skill, but it is going in the mid tier for me. Moving on into the next ability, we have the Multi Slash. This one is yes, just like a smaller brother of the Revenger skill. Doesn't really serve a purpose in the game. It is very close range, so yeah, it's gonna go in the bad tier for me. Moving on into the second last ability, we have the Onigiri. This one is a fan favorite move, and to be honest, for beginners it is a pretty strong ability, but as soon as you are progressing into the game, this ability becomes worse and worse, so I think it will go in the mid tier for me, but yeah, it's not gonna go any higher than that. Lastly, we have the Getsuga Tensho. This ability is very strong and has a pretty good range, so if you guys are looking to kill bosses, you can equip this ability. Okay, since we're done with all the abilities and their showcases, ranking and everything, I'm gonna be equipping all my personal favorite abilities, which are very good for killing bosses, and you guys can just copy my keybinds or whatever it is and you guys can use them. Alright, let me equip them and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. As you guys can see, those are all the abilities I use to kill bosses. I'll just zoom in for you guys so you guys can see. Yeah, these are all the abilities I use, and currently I'm using holification as my transformation, and I'm gonna be unlocking the what do you call it, the question mark very soon, so we're gonna be using that later. So yes, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys agree with me on this list, make sure to comment down below, and if you don't, also make sure to comment down below. And if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.